A love written in shadows. By now, the whispers of a hidden bond between Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho had grown louder. Fans, media, even industry insiders speculated about their connection. But what made the story tragic wasn't just the possibility of their romance, it was the sacrifices and betrayals that seemed to shadow their every step. Some say love is strongest when it is silent. For Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho, silence wasn't a choice, it was survival. The past that refuses to fade. Song Hye-kyo's history haunted her. Though she had moved on from her divorce with Song Joong-ki, the world had not. Every move she made was scrutinized, every man she stood beside became a suspect. The media painted her as fragile, scarred, even too mature to fall into the giddy spark of love again. For Lee Min-ho, this meant danger. If he stepped closer to her, he risked becoming a villain in the eyes of fans who still protected the memory of her past relationship. Could he bear the weight of public betrayal just to love her openly? He had faced obsessed fans before, but this would be different. This would be a war. Rumors of a rift. It was at this moment that betrayal seeped into their story, not between them, but from those around them. According to whispers, a close associate of Lee Min-ho leaked details of a private dinner. A blurry photo surfaced online. A man and a woman, side by side, faces obscured but postures too familiar. Though nothing was confirmed, the internet roared with accusations. Is it them? She looks like Song Hye-kyo. Look at the way she tilts her head. No, it can't be. She's too mature for him. He wouldn't risk it. The photo was taken down within hours, but the damage was done. Trust had been shattered, not between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo, but between them and the world. They could no longer move without suspicion. The denial that hurt more than betrayal. When reporters cornered Lee Min-ho with questions, he smiled and gave the same polished line. She's a senior I respect deeply. To fans, it was harmless. To Song Hye-kyo, it was a dagger cloaked in courtesy. Respect. Senior. Words that pushed her away, words that erased the intimacy they had shared in private. For him, it was protection. For her, it was rejection. And in that moment, denial became its own form of betrayal. The silent war of hearts. Yet, despite the pain, the pull between them did not vanish. On nights when Seoul city lights flickered outside her window, Song Hye-kyo would find herself scrolling through Lee Min-ho's dramas, her heart caught between pride and longing. And Lee Min-ho, even while basking in the adoration of millions, often carried a quiet shadow in his eyes. Insiders claimed he was more distracted than usual, more guarded, less playful. When asked about his mood, he would laugh it off. But those who knew him well said the sparkle wasn't the same. The world saw a star. But in truth, he was a man at war with himself. The industry's invisible hand. There's another layer most fans don't see, the power brokers of the entertainment world. Both Song Hye-kyo and Lee Min-ho are brand ambassadors for luxury houses, actors tied to multi-million-dollar contracts, and faces that shape international markets. A romance between them, especially one laced with scandal, could risk everything. Agencies, sponsors, and managers whispered behind closed doors. This cannot happen. The damage would be catastrophic. And so, like puppets bound by invisible strings, the two stars were pulled apart, not by choice, but by the ruthless machinery of fame. A twist of betrayal. Another name enters the story. To complicate matters, rumors tied Lee Min-ho to another co-star at the time. Fans speculated, tabloids stirred the pot, and suddenly, headlines shifted. Lee Min-ho dating younger actress? Song Hye-kyo rumors fade. The betrayal wasn't in the truth, it was in the perception. To Song Hye-kyo, watching his name tied to another woman, even falsely, was a brutal reminder she was never free to claim him, never allowed to stand by him. For Lee Min-ho, it was equally painful. He could not clear the air without exposing her. His silence protected her, but condemned them both. The cruel irony of love. What makes this story tragic is not whether they were together or not. It's that both carried a love, or at least an unspoken longing, that the world would never permit. Song Hye-kyo's maturity was her shield, but also her prison. Lee Min-ho's youth was his blessing, but also his curse. Together, they might have balanced each other. Apart they were safer, but emptier. And so, the debate rages on. Was Song Hye-kyo too mature for Lee Min-ho? Or was the world too immature to let them love? The cliffhanger. One insider once described their connection as this. They were like two ships passing in the night. Briefly illuminated, breathtaking to watch, but destined to sail in different directions. But others believe their story isn't over. That behind the curtain of denials, there lingers a possibility, a second chance, a secret chapter yet to be written. For now, the world waits. Fans watch. And the silence between them grows louder with every passing year. A love that could never speak. For months, the whispers refused to fade. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo's names clung to each other like shadows. The rumors of secret meetings, the glances captured at events, the silent denials, all of it built a storm too heavy to contain. They had lived in the silence of possibility, but silence has a breaking point. And when it broke, it was not gentle. The near-exposure scandal. It began with a photograph. A blurry shot from the balcony of a luxury hotel in Hong Kong. A woman with familiar posture, her hair falling like Song Hye-kyo's. A tall man standing beside her, broad-shouldered, with a profile unmistakably close to Lee Min-ho's. The photo spread like wildfire. News outlets exploded. Fans went to war. Agencies scrambled with denials. Fabricated. Coincidence? Not them. But the damage had been done. Song Hye-kyo, already scarred by past scandals, watched her name once again dragged through headlines. For Lee Min-ho, it was the first time he felt the full cruelty of a public scandal at this scale. And in that chaos, their fragile bond collapsed under the weight of a world too hungry for drama. The betrayal of silence. Song Hye-kyo wanted him to speak, not to the world but to her. To reassure her that this storm was survivable, that their connection was worth the battle. But Lee Min-ho remained silent. Not out of malice, but fear. Fear of losing everything he had built, fear of dragging her into another public execution. His silence was meant to protect. But to her, it felt like betrayal. How many times could she survive being left alone to face the fire? The final goodbye. It happened quietly. No grand confrontation, no dramatic fight. Just two weary souls acknowledging what the world refused to let them have. Insiders claim they met one last time in Seoul, in the dimly lit corner of a private restaurant. No cameras. No entourage. Just them. She told him, "You deserve a love that doesn't have to hide." He replied softly, "And you deserve a love that doesn't hurt." There were no promises, no maybe laters. Just silence. And in that silence, an ending. The aftermath. The media moved on, as it always does. Lee Min-ho buried himself in new projects, his smile dazzling but his eyes quieter. Song Hye-kyo returned to her art, her performances deeper, richer, as though every role carried fragments of her own unspoken story. Fans still debated. She was too mature for him. He was too young for her. No. The truth is they were too perfect. That's why it had to end. And in a way, all were right. The tragic climax. What makes their story unforgettable is not whether it happened, but that it could have. They were a love story written in shadows, suffocated by cameras, betrayed by silence, and destroyed by the very world that adored them. And so the debate lingers, immortalized in whispers. Was Song Hye-kyo too mature for Lee Min-ho? Or was the world too cruel to let them try? Epilogue. A story without an ending. Years from now, fans will still speak of them, not as lovers confirmed, but as lovers imagined. Because sometimes the greatest tragedies are not the ones played out on screen, but the ones lived in silence, never allowed to breathe. And maybe that is the cruelest truth of all.